Okay, so today we're going to go over the roles and functions and the purposes of the social media. And after we actually have a broad overview on the concepts and the usefulness of the social media, we'll actually have some practice on how to write some like really simple posts for like social media for different purposes. So let's have a look. All right. Oh yeah.
Role of social media in public relations, sharing news and updates, disseminate announcements, launches, and milestones instantly to a global audience,
Right.
building stakeholder relationships, enables two-way communication with customers, journalists, investors, and communities. Reputation monitoring and management uses social listening tools to track sentiment, respond to feedback, and manage brand image. Crisis communication delivers real-time updates and official responses during crisis, ensuring transparency and speed. Influencer engagement leverages trusted voices to amplify brand messages and reach
Niche.
niche audiences with authenticity.
Yeah.
Social media empowers PR to be faster, more interactive, and deeply audience-centered in today's digital landscape.
So last week, we've actually gone over the functions of the public relations. So this is basically explaining the purposes or the roles of social media in terms of public relations. So we actually did some press release writing because a lot of you guys actually wrote CVs, so we didn't really have enough time to write the press release drafts. And press is, as I told you, is the basic sort of prototype of the most of the public release forms. So we actually did it, and as you can see, social media plays a very important role in terms of public relations. So a lot of times it used to be the newspapers or the one-way media which dominated the public relations scene. But nowadays, because a lot of people are starting using the social media, it has become two-way. And a lot of like news outbreaks, like say we have Arab Spring in the Middle East, it used to be the case that the journalists had to fly to the Middle East to report everything. But these days, because a lot of people are using the phones, and we have such a development of the social media, so actually we have people acting as journalists, reporting what's going on in the local scenes. So not only the break news, but a lot of the times, if we have like companies or if you have like important businesses to run, social media actually can act as a very important marketing platform to engage with the customers. And as I told you before, social media is very effective in creating a community. So these days, businesses is more about community building. So before actually the companies sell something to their potential customers, they have to see what their interests are and what the potential customers goals in engaging with the company or the services or the products are. So they actually have to they're using the social media platforms to see and to evaluate before they engage with the customers. So social media is being used a lot for community building purpose. So these days, you can, as you can see, not only the influencers, they engage extensively with the people to basically promote whatever services or whatever sort of projects they want to promote. But as you can see, a lot of companies, they use this for repertoires, for crisis management, and also stakeholder relationships. So not only the customers, but if you want to engage with the potential investors to actually finance or to fund the companies or the services or the products, social media is acting as a very important platform. So, actually to know the nature of how the social media works is very important. And there are a lot of like blogs and a lot of information actually on this topic. So we'll actually have a very general overview on what this is. Alright, so we're gonna do some very simple exercise for you guys to start with. A lot of you, I know there are a lot of you guys are tired, so let's do this. So you find out the examples of customer engagement in social media by any companies or any institutions that you're interested in. You know, Starbucks has a great social media engagement, and you know, like Nike, you know, so all these companies. But if you're interested in any like public institutions like KOICA, like any type of institutions, you go into their websites and find out, you know, what kind of social media activities they're engaged in order to promote their projects and services. So let's now do it together. So you actually choose one institution or company and find out, you know, what kind of social media activities they're actually promoting and engaging in now for their projects and services. Huh? Oh, no, you can just do it now and then we're going to have a discussion later. So you just do it individually now, and after 5-10 minutes we're going to have a discussion together. Choose one of the 5. I just, you know, put the names over there for examples. So if you have any company that you're interested in, you don't have to choose Sephora. That's an American company. You can choose what is it? What a Korean one? Olive Young, or whatever you're interested in, and find out what kind of social media platforms or what kind of activities they're engaged in social media. Hello, come in. Do we have a Hyun now? Hyun? No, Hyun? person at the back and discuss what you have found. You guys talk, or just the three of you guys. Yeah. Two, three of you guys together.
For me, I searched about Starbucks, and Starbucks one of the most considered as a social plus brand, and also people they engage with their customer to promote for them, was writing their take the wrong name on the Starbucks. Let's say your name is and you wrote so the customer just posted that they got my name wrong and show Starbucks logo there. That's their marketing strategy. Also, because Starbucks define social class, so most of the customers to buy and post it on their Insta story and social media. So it's free marketing.
They can
I also got my name wrong. I told them my name is Kim and they called Kim or something like that.
Okay, come back, come back. We're just gonna have a watch of a very short clip. This is done by Forbes. I don't know whether you've heard about the magazine Forbes. So it has interviewed various people, influencers, academics, company owners on why they're actually sharing on the social media. I mean, I've looked at various video clips, and I just found this one the most telling because it's quite philosophical. So just listen to them.
I think oversharing can be a problem, and it is something that I've worked through being so early on the internet. Some people will just completely inundate your feed with their meal, their every single waking moment, and it does get to be a little bit much. And for somebody living that type of lifestyle, it's not really healthy either. Hey guys, Natasha from Forbes here. This week on the Business of Influence, we're getting a little philosophical and exploring how social media defines us as a culture. We're so used to seeing pieces of each other's lives on the internet. And when you're an influencer, not only does that become a part of your job, but the amount of exposure that you receive is that much greater. But why would share on social media in the first place? And where does that desire come from?
Yes, I do think that people overshare, but only because they're not satisfied with their real life.
The whole point of kind of influence things like that is you want to see what their actual lives are like, but it is hard because obviously you want to keep some things private. I think there's a tendency for millennials and people to look at people's Instagrams and stuff and be like, oh, that's not fair, why is their life so perfect or whatever, and it's not actually, it's just they're choosing to put out there the things that make it look perfect.
I feel like
my channel definitely covers a broad spectrum of things. I love food, I love tech, I love travel, I love video games. Basically, my channel is just an extension of me and things that I love. I think there's a fine line between what you actually share to the public. I think a lot of misconception, people think that we share everything. I share probably 20% of my entire life, if even that. We don't have to share everything. I think a lot of people think that we do share it all, but, you know.
What's so interesting about social media is the amount of stuff we share. Indeed, it's not surprising we share, right? We share all the time. But one question is, well, why do we share such private information? Would people be as likely, for example, to get up in front of a stage, in front of a big audience on a podium and share those same things about themselves? Probably not.
I think there's a big difference with oversharing in social media world versus the real life world. In real life, if you're right in front of a group of people, you're going to be eye to eye with those people. You're going to be thinking carefully about, is this something I want them to know? On the other hand, in the social media milieu, platforms make it very, very easy to type something very, very quickly and then press send and not really realize what it is you're doing. So I think that a lot of the tendency to overshare online is an artifact of the platform and what it feels like.
Social media has been so interesting because it's just kind of a reflection of how we want to connect so badly. You are showing yourself to the world because now when you meet somebody, that's the first thing they do. They'll Google you and try and see what your Instagram is, what your Facebook is, what you're doing, even how many followers you have. They create an idea of who you are just by your online presence.
I think social media influencers probably overshare things with their fans. They want to feel more personal. They want to feel like the fans are actually getting to know them and they're showing a bit of their personalities, actually showing who you are, being vulnerable, talking through your struggles and things like that. I think goes really a long way with the fans to connect with you.
Children are born with Instagram accounts and Twitter accounts, and they're not even out yet, and they've already got their Twitter handle, they've got the domain registered, so it sort of now is a very common thing. I mean, it is your business card, your name, it is you, and that's what's going to get you through life, and especially right now, everybody has a social media presence. So having this personal brand is what you publicly want to appear like to someone.
There's some really great data that shows about 70% of Facebook messages are censored. When I first heard this, I said, censored by the government? Who's censoring them? It's us. We're the ones censoring. We go back and we change a comma, we change a word, we take off a period. We do exactly what we want to make ourselves seem certain ways to others. We share things that make us look good. We curate an online identity, not just to reflect who we are, but reflect who we want to be, how we want others to see us. And so by always trying to curate that online self, always trying to look good to others, sometimes we miss out on what's actually occurring around us.
So why do you think that we share on social media? Tell us in the comments below, and don't forget to tune in next week for another episode of the Business of Influence.
Yeah, so it's basically asking the fundamental question on why people share, and if you were to share anything related with your personal identity, why would you do that? People say a lot about like personal brand, and actually your generation and my son's generation is born with the social media. Right after they're born, and then they're given with the phones, and it's all like online personalities there. In the online world is actually a lot bigger than it used to be. So, and then I think it was a professor from Wharton School, UPenn. He was asking the fundamental question, like who's censoring the posts on the social media? And a lot of people will think that it's the Facebook. It's the company who has made the platform, or it's the government. If you're living in China or the communist country, I think a lot of cases governments actually do censor, but he actually pointed out that it's me, it's me who's actually censoring my contents the most, because we actually just write down, or we actually constantly modify and constantly revise what we want to present to the others. So there's a different identity. So there's an identity of me in real world, like it's me, like Professor Kim, Sun Kim, to you in reality. But if you were to look at me in my YouTube or my LinkedIn, it's a different personality. So having this perspective is very important. Not only to when you're creating your own, or you're creating any posts for the institutions or the companies that you're working for, but when you actually read you know, a lot of posts and in the social media, you basically have to think really deep, you know, think critically what they want to present to you, you know, through the posts. So having this perspective is very, very important, especially with the development, you know, of all these like social media platforms. All right, so we did that. I mean, if you want to have a look at how Starbucks utilizes social media, this is a very good video, so you can have a look if you have time. We just looked at the Forbes. Okay, so, but we are bound to engage with content marketing because it's just a huge industry. And as one of the people in the interviews pointed out, millennials, you know, like people are born with social media nowadays, so it's a must. So I think it's very important for us to navigate through like some of the benefits of the social media as well, and then see how we can actually utilize the benefits for our own purposes. Who's next?
Content marketing and its benefit. Increase brand awareness. Constant content build visibility and positions the brand as a trust voice.
Right.
Improved customers' engagement. Encourages interaction through valuable, relevant and shareable content. Better search engine rankings. High quality content improves SEO and drives organic website traffic.
Right.
Increased lead generation. Attracts and nurtures potential customers through informative target materials. Cost-effective marketing delivers long-term ROI with lower cost than traditional advertising method. Content marketing strengthens relationship, build authority, and support sustain business growth.
Right, so as I told you, the marketing strategy has been altered a lot these days because of the social media. So before companies actually sell their stuffs, they actually create contents to give to their potential customers so that these customers are interested in the company as being represented as a brand, you know, in the public image. So once they're interested in the contents that, you know, this company produces, and they come into the website, and then, you know, they can actually move around, you know, different products or the services that, you know, they want to buy. So before, you know, the marketing used to be very direct. You know, you actually just put out the services or the products or the products that you want to sell directly, you know. But then, like nowadays, it has become really indirect. You know, so you actually give out the necessary information, like valuable information, to people first to draw their attention and their interest, and then they come in, you know, because of, you know, they just find the contents very interesting, and then they find about you, and then, you know, they start, you know, buying the stuffs. So, you know, the channel of engagement has been changed, and it's very important that you know how it works nowadays. And then also, so because of this mechanism, the change mechanism, it's very important that, you know, to actually think very deep and hard what kind of contents you want to give out to your customers, like potential customers or the potential people that you want to engage with, you know, because people actually come for the contents first rather than the services or the products, you know. So think about, you know, how we can engage, you know, with either with the useful information or like really fun information, or, you know, like a sense of humor or a sense of fun, you know, or it can be just an image, you know, it doesn't have to be like a long article. It can be just a fun image, you know, that you just put up, and the people are like, you know, very interested, and then they come in. So, you know, you actually think about this content first before you actually develop the services or the products. So it's important you know the nature of the social media, and then, you know, what kind of contents that you will create as part of the marketing campaign. All right, who's next?
My eyesight is...
All right, okay, Juyeon can read it.
How to develop content marketing strategy. Laying the foundation. Define your target audience.
Right.
Identify your ideal customers, demographics. needs, preferences,
Mhm.
and challenges. Create audience personas to guide tone, topics, and content type.
Right.
Set goals and objectives. Establish clear, measurable goals such as increase website traffic by 20%, generate 100 leads per month, boost engagement on social media, align content goals with broader marketing and business strategies.
Right.
Identify content formats and channels. Choose content types based on your audience and goals. Formats, blogs, videos, podcasts,
Mhm.
infographics, and white papers.
Mhm.
Channels. Website, YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, email newsletters. Tailor content to the strengths and user behaviors of each platform.
Right. So we actually, this is very telling. Before you actually develop any products or services, you actually think about the person that you want to target. And yeah, so there is an expression here. So you think about the audience personas. What do you mean by personas? It's like it's a bit different from personality. But personas actually harbors like all different characteristics. You know, you can actually make it visual. You know, what kind of person that you are targeting. So for me, like when I was creating my YouTube channel, I was actually basically thinking about you guys. So for me, the persona of my audience was pretty clear because you know, you guys, I can actually visualize you very easily, right? But then for some people who are actually launching a business and don't really know what their potential audience is, it's quite difficult, you know. So that's why it's very important that you actually think really hard about, you know, what kind of target people that you want to engage with for the first time, and then you actually move on to the contents and then the projects that you want to create based on the potential or the target audience that you want to have. So the structure is not the structure, but you know, the arrangement or of the product development or the service development is very different. But this applies to non-profit as well. So say if you want to work for like any type of NGO, Oxfam is a British NGO which is really well known around the world. It's the company which has developed the fair trade for the first time, because used to be the case that the African countries, they were the exporters of the coffee beans, you know, but you know the Western companies, they actually paid very low for the coffee beans produced in the Africa, you know, and then the Oxfam basically tried to improve the situation, you know, so it started like doing the trade with some of the local farmers in Africa. And what they did was to actually find the reliable partners, you know, reliable coffee bean farmers in Africa, you know, and then before they engaged with any of the services, they actually targeted the people first, you know, who would be their main customers to buy the fair trade coffee beans, you know, and then they actually did a wonderful, wonderful campaign, and that involved an extensive like social media platforms. So you know what they did was they actually thought about, you know, the people first. You know, they wanted to improve the conditions of the African farmers. You know, and then you know they were actually thinking about who would buy the coffee beans. You know, the coffee beans would have been like more expensive than, you know, the products developed, or offered by the big conglomerates like Nestle, like a lot of these, you know, coffee companies, you know, they basically take exorbitant profits out of this trade, you know. But you know, but the Oxfam was thinking about, you know, there will be customers who are very ethically minded, you know, and they would actually pay the price, you know, if it's only like $1 more expensive, they would actually pay the price to buy the more expensive coffee beans, you know, via the fair trade, you know. So this is basically what Oxfam sort of deployed in terms of their campaign. It was actually at the very initial stage of the social media marketing, but they were thinking about the target audience first, and they were creating the personas of the audience, the customers. These will be sort of more well-off or the more affluent customers in the maybe like European countries more than American companies, because Europeans are more like sort of they're much more into like ethical stuff. So they actually created the personas, and then they went into the specific campaign in terms of the marketing. And for the social media as well, they actually created lots of contents related with the local farmers. So they were having the pictures of these local farmers like smiling really big, and they did interviews with the local farmers in Africa, and they put up all the posts. And this makes whole things very interesting. And then they created like infographics, how this fair trade coffee beans actually helped out with the local farmers. So they were comparing the two types of coffee beans produced by the big conglomerates only for the commercial gains versus this fair trade coffee beans, which are produced in partnership with ethically minded NGO people and then the local farmers. So you can actually use a lot of different strategies, but then I think the caveat for like social media campaign or any of the marketing strategies that you will actually use for the social media is to create the persona of the people that you really want to target, and you study in depth about the people, what kind of contents they will be very much interested. You can actually have an interview. You actually shared your idea about creating this not the website but blogs, doing some surveys. That's a very good method, to actually engage or to analyze or to evaluate and learn in depth about the people that you want to engage with. So survey is a very good method. Interviews is a very, very good method to learn in depth about the people that you want to study about or basically engage in. So these are the things that you can think, and then the type of platforms that you're going to use for your social media comes at the very end. So you don't actually think about the channels that you want to start with first. You think about person, and then afterwards you devise a strategy to engage with these people. You think about the different ways that they might interest these people, and then you think about what kind of contents that you are going to create. You can actually create like article forms. You can create or image form. You can actually create like video forms. The forms can vary, but it derives from the type of people that you want to engage first. So this is the most important part. And 인류학, I just forgot the name, English name for 인류학. What is it? Ethnographic? Ethnographic study. We have a field of studies which is called ethnography, and what it does is you basically engage in in-depth study of the people. So they do a lot of interviews, like they actually live together with the people that you want to study, maybe for 6 months and 1 year. And then what they do is they talk and talk and talk, so that they can actually create like a big database and big personas about the people that you want to engage with. So it used to be a very sort of academic discipline, but nowadays like big conglomerates, like big companies, actually working with ethnographers because they want to study about their customers or about the people in depth before they engage in any type of marketing or like the selling sort of strategy. All right, next. Who's next?
How to develop content marketing strategy, execution, and optimization. Develop a content calendar. Map out content topics, publishing dates, platforms, and responsible team members. Ensure consistency and coordination across campaigns. Create and distribute content. Produce high-quality, audience-centered content. Ensure clarity, relevance, and brand alignment.
Right.
Distribute through scheduled post, email, and earned/paid promotion.
Right.
Measure and evaluate performance. Track key metrics engagement like shares, comments, traffic, page views, bounce rate, conversations, form submissions, downloads. Use tools like Google Analytics, social media insights, and CRM reports. Continuously optimize. Refine strategy based on data. Repurpose high-performing content. Adjust underperforming formats. Test new ideas through A/B testing. Content marketing is
Iterative.
iterative. Success comes from learning and evolving.
Iterative means repetitive. You know, cycles is basically repeating like in cycles. So you know, after you devise a strategy for content marketing, you basically have to execute it. You have to implement it, right? And I think one of the key principles for implementing content marketing is consistency. You know, so you basically put up your posts or videos, whatever, consistently. It can be like once a day, every day. It can be once a week or once a month. But it varies according to your strategy, right? But then the most important thing is basically you do it consistently so that people who actually view or are engaged with your content marketing know in expectation when the contents will come out. And for this purpose, a lot of times, you know, if you have a team, you can actually work on your own because you know, with the development of AI, you know, AI just platforms give you amazing tools to work on your own. So we can actually, I've seen a lot of people in their 30s, even in Korea. I'm mentoring some of them, and they've created just one person company, and it just does a lot of things because of the AI tools that they're having. But the important thing is, you know, they create a calendar, and this calendar basically schedules what kind of contents they will actually upload consistently over a period of time. And then after, you know, they upload the contents, you know, what they have to do is to see what kind of contents stick the most, are valued or the viewed the most. And we have a lot of tools nowadays to evaluate which content is actually the most successful. So if you just go to Google Analytics, I mean, you can basically just play with it, and it gives you, you know, like how many views you have your website or the blogs have received, you know, how many people actually go into the website or go into the other contents that you recommended. You know, they can actually give you all this analytics, you know. And then based on the analytics, you can basically see which content was the most popular or most successful according to which parameter. You know, if you just want contents to be viewed the most, and that's what your success is defined, then you go into the analytics, which actually just tells you about the views. But if that's not what your success is about, you basically want to sell the product or you want to sell the service through the content, then you basically see, you know, how many people actually go into the website that the service or the product that is being is sold, you know, and then you basically can see people actually get to buy something out of the clicks. You know, they provide you with the service. I think for some of the analytics you basically have to pay, but it's not as expensive, you know, so it's very easy. So using this tool, you basically see what kind of contents are the most effective in producing the results that you want, you know, and it's an iterative process. This term is very important, not only for the content marketing, but also for any other purposes. So you remember this term, iterative process. So iterative process basically means you repeat the process again and again to refine. You know, so if you want to refine or if you want to sort of revise anything that you want to improve upon, then you actually go through this iterative process to see which one is very effective, which one is not. Okay, so you go through the process again and again and again to find out the most successful, most effective contents, and then based on the evaluation of the feedback process, you can actually recreate or create the contents that actually best suits your purpose. Because that's what optimization means. All right, so what are the core content formats?
Core content format: blog post, foundation of content marketing,
right?
drives SEO and organic traffic, builds brand authority through
Authority?
educational or through leadership content. Infographics visually simplifies complex data, highly shareable and attention-grabbing, great for illustrating statistics, process, or comparisons. Social media posts enables direct engagement and brand presence, includes text, images, reels, posts, and stories, effective for real-time updates and community interaction.
Yes, there are like various forms of the social media contents, right? If you don't really know where to start, blog is like a press release of the public relations. Okay, so I told you that press release is like the archetype of all the public relations materials that can be produced. And blog is like a prototype, you know. So if you can write something on the blogs, and you can basically easily translate those blog posts into different forms, you know. And infographics is like visuals that you can create based on the article that you wrote down in the blogs. So say Jungwook, you know, has a survey on like different, what would be the topic that you want to do the survey on? Marketing? That's too generic. Marketing on what?
Advertising.
Advertisement in any specific field?
SNS advertising.
All right, so SNS advertisements. So you want to create a blog, and then you want to have a survey on the SNS advertisements targeted for maybe women in their 20s living in Jeonju. You know, the more specific you are, the better results that you can produce out of the survey. So say that you actually create a blog post, you know, during the survey, and you actually write down the results, and always results comes with a very good analysis, and that's why you have to know this analytics. You know? So you write down the blog post, and it's very easy to create infographics out of the blog post. You just go to Canva and you type in, you know, what you have written, and then you can actually create it into different visuals for infographics, right? And then afterwards, it is even easier to create a video out of it. You know, you basically have to combine different infographics, and if you actually have taken any like photos or, you know, you can actually just combine them all together, and then write the scripts based on the blog, you know, the blog post, and then it's gonna create a video out of it, you know. So you have all these AI tools, but then I say it again, you know, blog is like a archetype. It's like the basic form, you know, that you can use. So if you don't really know where to start, then just think about, you know, what I will write down, you know, in my blog. And this is something that, you know, a lot of marketing gurus have done. You know, like I told you about Seth Godin. You know, he's a very, very like internationally known like marketing person. He's just written like several books, like more than 20 books on marketing. And what he does is he actually writes down blogs almost every day. You know, anything that he has come up in terms of marketing, like from his like various everyday experiences, from what he has read, or, you know, any of the interesting articles or newspapers, any of the interesting conversations that he has had, he just writes it down in the blogs. And then, you know, based on the blog posts, he basically creates a lot of videos, and he basically does like other social media, he produces other types of social media contents based on his blogs. So this is very important to know. You know, if you don't know where to start with a blog. Okay, so there are other types. This is more long form. Who's next?
Advanced and long-form content, ebook and white paper, in-depth research used for lead generation, offer value in exchange for user information.
Right.
White paper or idea for
B2B.
and technical insight. Videos highly engaging and emotionally impactful. Work well across platforms, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, product demos, tutorials,
Testimonials?
testimonials behind the scenes,
Webinars.
webinars and podcasts build credibility and broad readership.
Right.
Webinars all allow for real-time Q&A and interactivity. Podcasts provide flexible, long-form storytelling for busy audiences.
Right. So if I can tell you about my own story, my life's goal is to make an impact for young generation people around the world. That's my life's goal. So whatever I do, I always try to align my projects or my activities according to this goal. So I gave lectures to you like every week, you know, in institutional setting like in college. But I also give lectures around the country. I give lectures in different schools to teen students or like people in their 20s, you know, like who are newly graduates. So one time I gave a talk to a group of I think they're slightly older than you are, so a lot of them were like fresh graduates of college, and some of them in their like late 20s or early 30s. Some of them are just, you know, running their own companies, you know, like some of them are entrepreneurs. So I gave a talk to this group of people at this institute called METES. It's run by MCM. I don't know whether you have heard about this name. It's a luxury sort of brand, and it has an educational foundation. And this foundation is running this institute for like aspiring entrepreneurs who want to, you know, set up their own businesses. So I gave a talk one day, and then some of the people actually came to see me in Daejeon. You know, they were say, "Oh, like Park Sunny, can we just have a conversation with you?" So why not? You know, like you're coming to visit me like all the way from Seoul to Daejeon, so you know, let's have a nice meal and then have a conversation. So we had a very nice conversation for like 2 hours, and then, you know, they basically gave me this idea that, you know, from what we have discussed today, the term they find the most interesting was the big picture thinking. You know, we had like talked about various stuff, and then they just said, I mean, all of them are Korean, young generation Korean in their 20s, you know, and they were like, oh, this is something that we're missing from our education here. You know, like it's very subject oriented. You know, a lot of the cases is just one way. You know, the teachers talk and the students just listen, and we forget most of the stuff after the classrooms. You know, so we just feel that, like, you know, the world is changing too fast. So we just feel that we need to have this big picture thinking to think critically about many of the information, much of the information that we are actually receiving nowadays. So like after we had a conversation, they were actually asking me, oh, can we actually have like a club, you know, like study club, that we can actually just study about different topics together? And then they actually named it as a big picture thinking club. You know, they did it, not me. You know, and then they gave me idea. Oh, so Park Sunny, why don't you create contents on big picture thinking that you just explained? You know, and that's how I started creating the videos for you guys. But then the archetype was for them in Korean language. You know, I didn't actually upload them because I wanted to have it in private. So I created the contents for these people on big picture thinking. And then, you know, I met you guys, and I just felt that, like, you know, they're sort of more advanced in their years because they're in their late 20s and like early 30s. You know, they are just beginning their career, whereas you guys in early 20s, you know, like you guys are like younger, and you guys are, I think, more flexible in terms of like your cognitive ability. So I just felt that, like, it's better for you to know about what critical thinking is, what creative thinking is, before you actually go into the world and start working. And that's why I created the videos for you and termed it as a big picture thinking. Because I really feel that with the AI much of the information you can just get it from online. You just ask ChatGPT and it has a lot better information that I can teach you guys. But what matters the most for you guys is to analyze whether the information that you have gotten is good for your own purpose, and pick and choose the best information and create any contents or any kind of projects that serve your purpose. And for that goal, you really have to have an angle, like thinking angle, to evaluate whether the information that you're gathering is credible, trustworthy, reliable. So that's what critical thinking is about. And also creative thinking will be what's more important for you guys, because you will actually have to create in order to survive. A lot of the knowledge acquisition stuff will be done by AI. It's already being done by AI. So what you need to do is to create any type of contents or any type of knowledge or any type of services for people that you want to target. So that's why I emphasize that having this persona that you want to target is a lot more important. So afterwards, I created the videos, and we are actually doing the online sort of mentoring to study about different stuffs, and they actually present about their projects. Some of them are like PhD students. So they are actually presenting about their PhD research. So we've been engaging with a lot of discussions. So I've actually created like 3-hour online video based on our discussion. And then what we are planning to do is to convert the online videos into ebook, so that we can actually have it in the writing form later. So this is like this is not for business purpose, but for me, like I'm not targeting to do like business, but for you might have a different purposes. You want to create your own business, or you want to start you want to start a business, you want to work for like a very nice organization, or you want to work in like international like projects, for whatever purposes that you want to serve. It's very important that you create the personas of the people that you want to work with, or you want to sell your products, or you want to make an impact on. And then based on that, think about the contents, that you really want to create the contents that's targeted, that's being suited for the people that you want to work with, engage with, And then, based on that, you can think about different forms of contents. It can be like videos, or it can be blog posts, or it can be ebook or podcast. I'm thinking about doing the podcast as well with the students, and then like doing it internationally with the people that I'm engaging with. So like if you think about like different online or the social media platforms that you can actually use to serve your purpose. So again, thinking about the people that you want to engage with, creating the specific persona is the most important step that you begin with. And then think about the contents that target very well the people. And then based on that, you can think about the form of contents, like different forms of contents that you want to go into later. So this is the sequence that you have to have, okay? So I hope it comes across to you. All right, so I think this is the last page before we actually get to write about the social media writing. Who's next? Okay.
Customer engagement in social media. Respond to comments and message. Foster trust and loyalty through timely interaction.
Right.
Run social media contests. Spark excitement and increase brand visibility. Create interactive content. Use polls, quizzes, and live Q&As to involve your audience.
Right.
Share user-generated content. Boost authenticity and build community. Over exclusive promotion, like reward loyal followers and drive conversation. And the last, provide valuable content such as educate, entertain, or inspire to keep your audience coming back. Hashtag engagement turns followers into advocates, make every interaction count.
Yeah, so all this actually point towards one single message. Social media is best served for interaction. And it's a lot better than just me lecturing you. It's a lot better than one-way interaction, because you can actually get a lot of feedback, like, you know, two-way, or it can be actually multi-ways, because, you know, people they can actually talk to one another. Like if you were to do Instagram, you know, I can actually put up my post, but then, like, you know, people actually viewing the Instagram, they can actually find one another, and then, you know, they can send back messages. So you know, the interactions can be created like in multiple ways. So the more interactions you create out of your contents or out of your platform, the better results that you can get, right? So I think this is a very telling sort of phrase that you can remember. So engagement or interactions turns to followers. So followers is a concept of one-way interaction. So me, leader, or the person who teaches, teacher, and then the follower, you are followers or the students. But no, okay, social media basically turns the followers into advocates. What do advocates do? You know, they actively engage with you to advocate or to promote the project or the service or the product, you know, together, you know. So if you are to use the social media very well, then you actually make the people that you engage with much more active, you know, and then they become much more vocal. You know, they're actually just becoming really more dynamic, you know, and they actually tend to recreate contents based on your original contents. You know, that's how your service or the product is being promoted, and, you know, promoted and then grabbing the attention. Right? So I've just sort of explained the very basic sort of summary of the social media. I think there's a whole lot of more information that you can actually have on the functions and the roles and purposes of social media. But, you know, I think it's better to be done than, you know, being heard or, you know, being taught. So let's do this very basic worksheet on how to create effective social media post. Okay. Make sure that you have one sheet, worksheet. Does everybody have one? Right? Everybody? No one's missing? Okay, so let's go to step 1. Define the purpose of your post. Before writing, ask yourself, what do I want this post to do? So, I mean, there can be like many different like purposes that you can do, but I just summarized 5 different, you know, purposes. So it can be either to inform, to entertain, or promote. Inspire can be one, inspiration can be one purpose, or call to action. You want the person who views your post to act upon something. So you choose one of the 5. I mean, you can actually choose 2, 3, but I think it's better to be more specific, so just choose 1 or 2. After you pick 1 or 2 purposes, then you write down your goal in 1 sentence. So for example, I want to inspire students to attend our career workshop. So this is an example. You write down the purpose of your post in 1 sentence. step 2, and this is the most important part, is the T is to identify your audience. So this is very important. So you think about the personas, right? Personas of your audience. And those personas include age range, so it doesn't have to be like 11 years old. It can be a range of age, or interests. This is important. So you think about what kind of interests that your audience will have. And then based on this, basically what kind of platforms that you're going to use is much of the time determined by the age range of your audience. So if you're targeting middle school students, then most of the times it's better to use Instagram than YouTube, But if you were to target the professionals, you are interested in working, networking for your career, then the age range will be people in their 30s or 40s, mid-career professionals, and it's better to use LinkedIn, as a platform, right? So you pick and choose the platforms that you're going to use based on the age range and interests of your audience. And you describe your target audience in 1 or 2 lines. To say it again, it's very important to think about your audience first, So if you have a very broad sort of purpose that you want to write the post on, then spend a lot more time to think about your audience. So after you think about your purpose and more about your audience, then you can actually draft the contents. And the good content basically is concise. If you were to just post it in the LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram is actually more visual sort of based. It has to be concise. So 1 to 3 short sentences or under 280 characters. But it has to be very clear, no jargon. Don't try to be too humorous or use all this jargons or just use simple words. To start with, especially English is not your native language, so use with simple words. But a lot of times, if you can convey a little bit of humor, I think it'd be very nice. But if you are not very confident that you can be humorous in your writing, don't use it. Just use simple words. If you can do that, then you can. But if you're not confident, don't try to overdo it. Okay, and this is important. The more action-oriented your post is actually higher probability that you actually have more viewers. So people actually prefer to read posts which are action-oriented, so they can somehow get some practical advice on how they can change their behaviors. And I think the research is done, that more viewers, more views for these type of posts. So if you can make your writing more action-oriented, it's going to actually add a credit. So based on these criteria, you can actually draft your post text here. But I told you, my English teacher, my writing teacher, said that your first draft is meant to be rubbish, garbage. So it's going to be thrown away anyway, so don't try to do it too well. I always think it that way. Okay, this is my first draft. It's going to be thrown into the rubbish bin, the garbage bin, anyway, so I'm not trying to do it too well. I'm going to revise it again, so let's not try to do it too well. So just write down your draft here. It can be just very short, 1 to 3 sentences. But the tip is you can actually start your post with a hook. I think we actually went over what hook is in our presentation. I think the week that we went over the presentation, making the presentation. So you can actually start with a question. If you can somehow provoke something, in order to grab the attention, a bold statement, any surprising fact. But again, don't make it up. To make it like dramatic, you don't make it up. But somehow, if you can just make a question, like a nice question, like any kind of interesting statement or like a surprising fact that people don't really know about, I think you can just add it as a hook. But if you're not confident, then just write it in your simple words. So if you were to promote, say, a service, then you can actually add, why don't you come and click? Yeah, so instead of just writing the fact, you can actually induce the person who views this post to come and click the service, click the website. That's what it is by action oriented. Do some actions. So you actually encourage people who read your post to do something. Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't have to be clicking the button only. It can be like various things. But to do something, yeah. Alright, so after you draft the first sort of set of sentences, then based on that, you can actually add any visuals. You can use Canva. Canva is a great tool. ChatGPT does great images nowadays. You can actually create like really funny images. So you can use like various tools to create an image that reflects on your writing. What kind of visual fits your image? You can think about it. It can be a photo or quote, graphic. Sometimes you just post the like very famous quote, like say like any of the Shakespeare sort of quotes, or like any of the quotes from the famous person, and you copy it, and then the ChatGPT creates, or Canva can create like really nice visuals, infographics, like diagrams, like statistics, graphs which illustrate your point. I told you that it can. Oh yeah, so ChatGPT has just developed Sora, and Sora can make 5-second video out of a script. So if you just click in any like script, and it can create 5 seconds video. Yeah, I think ChatGPT has a Sora sort of function on the left hand side. You can go and have a look. Memes? I've never created memes, so if any of you guys can create a meme, that would be very fun. I've never created a meme before. So you can actually make the visual in the computer. You don't have to like describe it here. Yeah, so you can create the visual with a computer. And afterwards, this is important, hashtags. Yeah, so when you put the post in LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, even YouTube, hashtags are important. I find it really difficult to actually find a good hashtag, so I resorted to ChatGPT again. So I asked ChatGPT to come up with nice hashtags, and you can actually use this phrase, please give me SEO optimized hashtags for this post. I always type in this, and then it actually gives you like 5 to 10 very nice hashtags related with your content. So SEO is an abbreviation of search engine optimization. Search engine optimization. So can't come up with any nice hashtags, you just type in this, create hashtags related to my post, related to my contents for best SEO. Just type in that into ChatGPT and it's gonna give you. I always do that. And, yeah, and then you can just define the number as well. You can define, okay, give me like 10 hashtags or give me 5 to 10 hashtags. Okay, Jungkook just asked me what do you mean by CTA, call to action. So there's a research which actually done on the social media posts, and it was found that if somehow your blog posts or if your social media posts have an element which induce the viewers to do something, you know, it can be, it can be like, you know, like clicking, you know, whatever website that you've created for, and it can be just going to a gym, whatever, you know, any action, you know, anything that makes people do something, then it actually receives more views, you know. So somehow you can include any element that makes people to do something, then it's a good post, you know. But don't try to overdo it, you know. If you can't think about like any good action, then don't do it. You can just leave it. But you know, if you can somehow, you know, add a sentence that, you know, makes people to do something, then, you know, you can. Yeah, examples of call to actions, you know, learn more, link, you know, tag a friend, join us at 4 p.m. at the student center, follow us for tips. You know, these are like examples of like simple action items. But think about your own action items as well. Alright, so again, you write your contents in 1 to 3 sentences. I mean, it can be longer if you want to write longer, then it's good. And afterwards, you add a visual, okay? And then after the visual, you add hashtags, okay? And then see if you can add an element which makes people to do something. It's called CTA, call to action. You know, and then afterwards you final check the following items. Done it? You've finished? This is good, but create the visual using the internet. Yeah. And after you've done it, so again, contents, visual, and hashtag, 3 elements, all right? And then you write it down in the Word doc or any of the document, and then you send it to me, okay? And after you do it, you ask the following questions. Okay, what are these questions for the final check? Is the message clear in 1 to 3 seconds? You know, people just look at it. You look at your post like in 1 second. I mean, they just like, you know. So the message has to be very clear, you know. And does this match your audience and platform? You know, personas of your audience is very important. So think about it. And this is important too. Is the tone consistent? You know, I told you if you're not confident, then don't try to make it fun. You know, make it funny. You know, like if you're not like be confident, you know, like with the humorous and you know, don't do it. Just use your simple words. You know. But if you're serious, then be serious until the end. You know, like because you're actually just writing in like very short sentences. So don't try to like change abruptly your tone or style in the middle. Yeah, and then if you can add CTA, call to action is good, but if you cannot, then don't do it. All right, so you can do this and then send it to me now, okay? So use it as this is a guideline, the worksheet is a guideline, but actual thing, you do it in the computer and then send the file to me. mentioned about